What if the reason you cannot speak English fluently is not because your English is weak? What if the real problem is that your brain is using the wrong system? You know words, you know grammar. You understand videos, lessons, movies, teachers, and conversations. But the moment you try to speak, something strange happens. Your brain freezes. You start searching for words. You translate from your native language. You worry about grammar. You correct yourself before the sentence even comes out. And then the conversation moves on without you. This is not a vocabulary problem. This is not an intelligence problem. This is not because you are too old, too slow, or not talented enough. The real problem is that your brain has learned English as information, not as a speaking reflex. And today that changes. Because in this video, you are going to understand how to stop translating in your head and train your brain to speak English automatically. Not perfectly, not like a textbook, automatically. Because fluent speakers are not translating faster than you. They are not thinking of grammar rules before every sentence. They are not building sentences like a math formula. They speak because their brain has practiced English as a direct response. And once your brain learns that, English stops feeling like a subject. It starts feeling like a voice. Chapter 1, Why Translating in Your Head Destroys Your Fluency. The biggest mistake English learners make is believing translation is helping them. At the beginning, translation feels useful because it gives your brain something familiar to hold on to. You hear an English word, you connect it to a word in your own language, and suddenly you understand. You want to say something, so you first create the idea in your native language, then you try to move it into English. In the beginning, this feels normal. It feels safe. It feels like the correct way to learn. But after some time, the same thing that helped you understand English becomes the same thing that blocks you from speaking English. Because real conversations do not wait for translation. When someone asks you a simple question like, "What did you do today?" they are not expecting a perfect answer. They are expecting a natural answer. But inside your mind, a whole process begins. First, you understand the question. Then you think of the answer in your own language. Then you search for English words. Then you check the grammar. Then you worry about pronunciation. Then you wonder if the sentence sounds natural. Then you think, what if I make a mistake? And by the time you are ready to speak, the moment already feels heavy. This is why you freeze, not because you are stupid, not because your English is useless. Not because you need another 5 years of grammar. You freeze because your brain is taking too many steps before allowing you to speak. Fluency is not about knowing every word. Fluency is about reducing the distance between your thought and your speech. The shorter the distance, the more fluent you sound. The longer the distance, the more stuck you feel. A fluent speaker does not hear a question, translate it, build an answer, check grammar, correct pronunciation, and then speak. A fluent speaker hears meaning and responds. That is the difference. They are not always using difficult words. They are not always speaking perfect grammar. They are simply responding faster because English is connected directly to meaning in their brain. This is what you must build, a direct connection. Right now, many learners have a long road in their brain. The idea starts in the heart, travels to the native language, moves into translation, passes through grammar checking, gets stopped by fear, and then maybe comes out as English. That road is too long. In real conversation, long roads create silence, and silence creates fear. The more you stay silent, the more your brain starts believing English is dangerous. The more you hesitate, the more your brain starts treating speaking like a test. Then every conversation feels like an exam. Every question feels like pressure. Every word feels risky. This is why translation destroys fluency. It makes English feel like a puzzle instead of a tool. English is not supposed to be something you solve in your head before you speak. English is supposed to be something you use to express what you mean. Think about your native language. You do not plan every sentence before speaking. You do not check every grammar rule. You do not stop and ask, is this the correct tense? You simply speak because your brain has repeated those patterns thousands of times. English can become more natural too, but only when you stop forcing every sentence through translation. Your native language is not the enemy. Never think that. Your first language is part of you. It carries your memories, your family, your culture, your emotions, your real identity. The problem is not your native language. The problem is depending on it every time you want to speak English. You do not need to erase your first language. You need to stop using it as the middleman. When you see a glass of water, your brain should not go from your language to English. It should simply think water. When you feel tired, your brain should not create a full sentence in your language and then convert it. It should say, I'm tired. When someone asks, how was your day? Your brain should not panic. It should answer directly, it was good, it was busy, I had a lot of work, I stayed home, I went outside, I learned something new. Simple English spoken instantly is much more powerful than perfect English spoken too late. This is hard for many learners to accept because they respect perfection too much. They think a simple sentence is not enough. They think they must sound advanced to sound fluent. That is wrong. Fluency begins with simple sentences that come out naturally. If you cannot say simple things quickly, you will never say advanced things smoothly. So do not look down on basic English. Basic English is the foundation of automatic English. The sentence, I'm tired, may look simple, but if it comes out instantly, that is fluency. The sentence, I don't know what to say, may look simple, but if you can use it naturally in a real conversation, that is power. The sentence, can you explain that again, may look basic, but if it saves you from freezing, it is valuable. The goal is not to impress people with complicated English. The goal is to keep the conversation alive. Translation kills the conversation because it makes you disappear inside your head. Instead of listening to the person, you start fighting with your own mind. Instead of responding naturally, you start editing yourself. Instead of being present, you become trapped in mental correction. And the more you correct yourself while speaking, the less you actually speak. This is why from today, you must train your brain differently. You must teach it that English does not always need permission from your native language. You must practice small, direct responses every day. Look around your room and name things in English. Describe what you are doing in English. Ask yourself simple questions in English and answer them out loud. Do not wait for perfect sentences. Say what you can say now. Because fluency is built by use, not by silence. Every time you speak English directly, even with mistakes, you are building a new pathway in your brain. Every time you answer without translating every word, you are weakening the old habit. Every time you choose communication over perfection, your speaking becomes stronger. So remember this clearly. Translation may help you understand English in the beginning, but if you depend on it forever, it will slow you down, create hesitation, and destroy your natural flow. You do not need slower, perfect English. You need faster, usable English. You do not need every sentence to be beautiful. You need every sentence to come out. Because fluency is not built by perfect silent sentences sitting inside your mind. Fluency is built by imperfect sentences spoken again and again until your brain stops being afraid. Chapter 2, your brain does not need more English, it needs a new root. Most English learners think the solution is more. More vocabulary, more grammar, more videos, more courses, more notebooks, more apps, more rules, more lessons. But here is the truth most learners do not want to hear. Many of you already know enough English to speak much better than you speak right now. Your problem is not always lack of knowledge. Your problem is access. You have English inside your brain, but when the moment comes to speak, you cannot reach it fast enough. That is why you can understand a video but freeze in a conversation. That is why you can read a sentence and understand it perfectly, but when someone asks you a simple question, your mind becomes empty. That is why you know the word after the conversation ends, but not during the conversation. This means the English is there, but the road is weak. Think of your brain like a city. In that city, your ideas are in one place and your English words are in another place. If the road between them is slow, crowded, and full of fear, your words will arrive late. You may know the answer, but your mouth cannot produce it in time. So what do most learners do? They add more information. They learn more words. They watch more grammar lessons. They write more notes, but adding more buildings to the city does not fix a broken road. If the road is weak, more information only creates more traffic. This is exactly what happens in your brain. You know many words, but you do not know which word to choose. You know grammar rules, but now you are checking too many rules at once. You know different ways to say one thing, but now you are confused about which one sounds natural. So instead of speaking faster, you become slower. This is why more English is not always the answer. You do not need to collect English forever. You need to train your brain to access the English you already have. Fluency is not only knowledge, fluency is speed, comfort, repetition, and response. It is the ability to take an idea and express it without building the whole sentence from zero every time. A learner who knows 1,000 words and can use 500 quickly will speak better than a learner who knows 10,000 words but freezes before every sentence. That may sound harsh, but it is true. English sitting silently in your mind does not help you in a real conversation. English you can use immediately is what matters. This is why you need a new route. The old route is this: idea, native language translation, grammar check, fear, correction, hesitation, then maybe English. The new route is this: idea, English, speech. That is the route you are trying to build. And this route is not built by watching videos only. It is not built by reading grammar explanations only. It is not built by saving vocabulary lists only. It is built by repeated speaking. Your brain changes when you repeat an action enough times. If you repeat translation, your brain becomes faster at translation. If you repeat silence, your brain becomes comfortable with silence. If you repeat hesitation, hesitation becomes your habit. But if you repeat direct speaking, even simple direct speaking, your brain starts creating a new pathway. At first, the new route feels weak. You will pause. You will make mistakes. You will use simple words. You will forget better words. You will sound less intelligent than you want. Good. That is not failure. That is the beginning of automatic speaking. A new route always feels uncomfortable at first because your brain wants to return to the old road. The old road is familiar, translation is familiar, silent thinking is familiar, grammar checking is familiar, but familiar does not mean effective. Familiar only means repeated. If you keep using the old route, you will keep getting the old result. So you must force your brain to practice the new route. Start with simple, direct sentences. I need help. I don't understand. I want to improve. I feel nervous. I made a mistake. I have a question. I agree with you. I don't agree. I need more time. Let me explain. These sentences are not advanced, but if they come out quickly, they create speaking momentum. And momentum is what your channel is about. You do not need to sound impressive at the beginning. You need to keep moving. Once your brain learns to move, better English becomes easier. The problem with many learners is that they want advanced English before automatic English. That is the wrong order. First make English automatic, then make it advanced. First learn to respond, then learn to refine. First build the road, then improve the vehicle. You cannot drive smoothly on a broken road. So stop obsessing over how many words you know and start testing how many words you can actually use without panic. Ask yourself, can I describe my day for 1 minute? Can I answer simple questions quickly? Can I explain a problem in basic English? Can I say what I feel without translating every word? Can I keep speaking even when my sentence is imperfect? These questions matter more than how many grammar rules do I know, because conversation does not care how many rules you memorized. Conversation cares whether you can respond. This does not mean grammar is useless. Grammar matters, vocabulary matters, pronunciation matters, but they must serve speaking, not block it. If grammar makes you clearer, use it. If grammar makes you silent, you are using it the wrong way. Your brain needs English as a living action, not dead information. That means you must speak daily, even alone. You must answer questions out loud. You must repeat useful phrases. You must describe what you are doing. You must train your mouth to move before fear takes control, because your mouth is part of the route too. Many learners forget this. They think English is only in the brain, but speaking is physical. Your tongue, lips, breathing, rhythm, and voice all need practice. If you only study silently, your brain may understand English, but your mouth will still be slow. That is why you feel stuck. Your brain has received English, but your mouth has not produced enough English. So the new route must include speaking out loud, not whispering in your mind, not imagining the sentence, not only writing it, speaking it. When you speak out loud, you train the full system. Your brain chooses the words, your mouth forms the sounds, your ears hear your voice, your nervous system learns that speaking English is survivable. This is how English becomes natural. You are not waiting for confidence. You are building proof. Every spoken sentence tells your brain, I can do this. Every repeated phrase tells your brain, this pattern is safe. Every small conversation tells your brain, English is not danger. That proof becomes confidence. So stop chasing more English like the answer is always outside you. The answer is not another secret lesson. The answer is not another perfect course. The answer is training the route between what you think and what you say, because when that route becomes strong, the English you already know starts coming out faster. And when it comes out faster, you stop feeling trapped. You stop translating every word. You stop panicking before simple answers. You stop waiting for perfect sentences. You start speaking with momentum. That is what fluency really is. Not knowing everything, not speaking perfectly, not sounding like someone else. Fluency is having a clear route from your thoughts to your words. And from today, that is what you must train. Chapter 3, stop learning words alone and start learning ready sentences. One of the biggest reasons you translate in your head is because you are trying to build English sentence by sentence, word by word, piece by piece, like you are solving a puzzle under pressure. You have an idea, but instead of saying it naturally, your brain starts searching for individual words. You think, what is the English word for this? Then after you find one word, you search for the next word. Then you try to remember the correct grammar. Then you worry about the order of the sentence. Then you wonder if the phrase sounds natural. Then you think about your pronunciation. And while all of this is happening, the other person is waiting. This is not speaking. This is construction work. And construction work is slow. Real speaking is not supposed to feel like building a house brick by brick while someone is watching you. Real speaking should feel more like opening a door that has already been built. That is why fluent speakers sound fast. They are not creating every sentence from zero. They are using ready-made patterns that their brain has already heard, repeated, and used many times before. This is where most learners go wrong. They collect vocabulary, but they do not collect usable sentences. They memorize single words, but they do not learn how those words live inside real speech. They know the meaning of a word, but they cannot use it quickly when they need it. For example, a learner may know the word decision. They may understand it perfectly, but in conversation, knowing the word alone is not enough. You need to know how to use it naturally. You need phrases like, I made a decision, it was a difficult decision, I haven't decided yet, I'm trying to decide, that decision changed everything, and I need more time to decide. Now the word is not floating alone in your brain. It has a home, it has a shape, it has a pattern. Your brain can use it faster because it does not need to invent everything from zero. This is the difference between knowing English and using English. Words alone are weak if they are not connected to real sentences. A word by itself is like a tool lying on the floor. It may be useful, but only if you know when and how to pick it up. A sentence pattern is different. A sentence pattern is already prepared for action. You can use it immediately. This is why you must stop learning words alone and start learning ready sentences. If you learn the word explain, do not just write explain means to make something clear. That is not enough. Learn real sentences. Let me explain. Can you explain that again? I don't know how to explain it. It's hard to explain. She explained it very clearly. I can explain what happened. These sentences are much more useful than the word alone because they train your brain to use the word in real situations. If you learn the word comfortable, do not just memorize the meaning. Say, I feel comfortable here. I don't feel comfortable speaking yet. This chair is comfortable. I'm comfortable with simple conversations. I want to become more comfortable in English. Now the word becomes part of your speaking system. This is how automatic fluency is built. Not by memorizing 1,000 random words, but by repeating useful sentence patterns until your brain starts using them without asking your native language for help. You need to understand something clearly. Native speakers do not speak by choosing every word separately. They speak in chunks. They use common phrases automatically. They say things like, the thing is, to be honest, I feel like, I was about to, I didn't expect that. That reminds me of, I'm not sure but, what I mean is, it depends on, and the reason is. These are not complicated phrases, but they are powerful because they give the speaker time, flow, and structure. When you learn these chunks, your speaking becomes smoother because your brain has something ready to use. For example, instead of freezing when you need to explain your opinion, you can start with, I feel like, then your brain gets moving. I feel like this method is useful. I feel like I need more practice. I feel like English becomes easier when I speak every day. The phrase gives you a beginning, and once you begin, it becomes easier to continue. Many learners freeze because they do not know how to start. They may have ideas, but they do not have sentence starters. So the mind becomes blank. But when you have ready phrases, you do not need to wait for a perfect opening, you already have one. If someone asks you a question and you are not sure how to answer, you can say, that's a good question, I'm not completely sure, but I think this gives you time. It keeps the conversation alive, it prevents silence. It also makes you sound more natural because real speakers use these small phrases all the time. This is why ready sentences are not cheating. They are not memorized fake English. They are the natural building blocks of fluency. Every language works like this. In your native language, you also use ready phrases. You do not create every sentence from nothing. You have automatic expressions for greeting people, disagreeing, explaining, apologizing, asking questions, giving opinions, telling stories, and changing topics. English needs the same thing in your brain. You need ready sentences for daily life. You need ready sentences for work. You need ready sentences for introductions. You need ready sentences for opinions. You need ready sentences for mistakes. You need ready sentences for asking for help. You need ready sentences for continuing a conversation when your brain feels stuck. For example, when you do not understand someone, do not freeze. Use a ready sentence. Sorry, could you say that again? I didn't catch that. Can you explain it more simply? Do you mean that? These sentences are small, but they protect you in real conversations. When you forget a word, do not stop speaking. Use a ready sentence. I don't know the exact word, but I mean, it's something like, how can I say this? Let me try to explain it. These phrases save you from silence. They teach your brain that forgetting one word does not mean the conversation is finished. When you need time to think, do not panic. Say, let me think for a second. That's interesting. I've never thought about it that way. I need a moment to explain this clearly. These sentences give your brain space without making you look lost. This is real fluency. Fluency is not only fast speaking. Fluency is knowing how to continue when the sentence becomes difficult. Fluency is knowing how to repair the conversation. Fluency is knowing how to keep moving even when your English is not perfect. Ready sentences help you do that. The mistake is that many learners try to learn advanced words before learning survival sentences. That is backwards. Before you try to sound impressive, you must learn how to stay in the conversation. Before you learn rare vocabulary, learn the phrases that help you respond, ask, explain, continue, and recover. Because in real life, the person speaking with you does not care how many difficult words you know. They care whether they can understand you and whether you can continue the conversation. So build your speaking around useful patterns. Take one phrase and use it many times. For example, take the phrase, I'm trying to improve my English. I'm trying to speak more naturally. I'm trying to stop translating in my head. I'm trying to build confidence. I'm trying to answer faster. I'm trying to understand native speakers. I'm trying to practice every morning. I'm trying to explain my thoughts clearly. I'm trying to become more consistent. I'm trying to speak without fear. This exercise looks simple, but it trains your brain deeply. You are not just repeating words, you are creating a pattern. You are teaching your brain, when I want to talk about effort, I can use I'm trying to. The next time you speak in real life, that phrase will be easier to access. Then take another phrase. I used to translate everything. I used to feel nervous when speaking. I used to avoid conversations. I used to think grammar was my biggest problem. I used to stay silent because I was afraid of mistakes. Now you can talk about the past. Take another phrase. I want to speak more smoothly. I want to sound more natural. I want to stop overthinking. I want to use English in real conversations. I want to become confident without waiting for perfection. Now you can talk about goals. This is how English becomes automatic. one useful pattern at a time. Do not make this complicated. Every day, choose 5 useful sentence patterns and repeat them with your own life. Do not repeat meaningless textbook sentences that have nothing to do with you. Use sentences that feel real. Talk about your day, your work, your family, your goals, your mistakes, your problems, your plans, your opinions. The more personal the sentence is, the more your brain remembers it. This is important because your brain does not remember language only through logic. It remembers language through use, emotion, repetition, and connection. When a sentence connects to your real life, it becomes easier to remember and easier to speak. So instead of learning English like a list, learn it like a voice. Do not only write, improve, confident, nervous, explain, decide. Say, I want to improve. I don't feel confident yet. I get nervous when I speak. Let me explain what I mean. I haven't decided yet. Now, English has movement. Now, English has life. Now, English is not trapped in your notebook. It is coming out of your mouth. And that is what matters. Because a notebook full of words will not save you in a conversation if your brain has never practiced using those words in real sentences. From today, every new word must come with sentences. Every useful phrase must be repeated out loud. Every pattern must be practiced until it becomes easy. This is how you stop translating. You stop asking your native language to build the sentence first. You give your brain ready English pieces that can come out directly, and slowly something changes. You stop searching for every word. You stop building every sentence from zero. You stop panicking at the beginning of every answer. You start using phrases automatically. You start speaking in patterns. You start sounding smoother, even with simple English. That is the point. Simple English with flow is better than advanced English with fear. A ready sentence spoken naturally is better than a perfect sentence trapped inside your head. So stop collecting dead words. Start collecting living sentences. Because words may help you understand English, but ready sentences help you speak it. Chapter 4, speak before your grammar mind interrupts you. One of the biggest reasons English learners cannot speak smoothly is not because they have no grammar. It is because they have too much grammar running at the wrong time. That may sound strange, but it is true. Grammar is not the enemy. Grammar helps you build clearer sentences. Grammar helps you understand structure. Grammar helps you write better, speak more accurately, and avoid confusion. But grammar becomes a problem when your brain tries to check every rule while you are speaking in real time. During conversation, you do not have 10 minutes to build a perfect sentence. You have a moment. Someone asks you a question and your brain needs to respond. But instead of responding, many learners immediately open their internal grammar book. They think, should I use past simple or present perfect? Should I say he go or he goes? Is this sentence active or passive? Should I use at, on, or in? Is this word countable or uncountable? Am I using the correct article? Should I say a, an, or the? What if my sentence sounds childish? What if they notice my mistake? And then the sentence dies before it is born. This is what I call the grammar mind. The grammar mind is the part of you that wants to correct everything before you allow yourself to speak. It wants safety. It wants control. It wants protection from embarrassment. It tells you, wait, do not speak yet. First, make sure the sentence is correct. And because you listen to it, you pause. Then you pause longer. Then you become nervous. Then you forget the sentence. Then you feel ashamed. Then you tell yourself, my English is bad. But your English was not the main problem. The interruption was the problem. Your grammar mind interrupted your speaking flow. You need to understand this clearly. Speaking and correcting are 2 different skills. If you try to do both at the same time, you will become slow. When you speak, your first job is to express meaning. When you review, your job is to improve accuracy. Both are important, but they cannot both drive the car at the same time. Imagine driving a car and stopping every 3 seconds to check if the engine is perfect. You would never reach your destination. That is what many learners do with English. They start a sentence, stop, check, restart, stop again, correct, apologize, and then lose the whole idea. They are not practicing conversation anymore. They are practicing fear. This is why you must learn to speak before your grammar mind interrupts you. This does not mean you should ignore grammar forever. That would be stupid. Accuracy matters, clear English matters, but there is a time for correction and there is a time for communication. During a conversation, communication must come first. After the conversation, correction can happen. If you mix these two moments, you will destroy your fluency. A sentence with a small mistake can still carry your meaning, but a perfect sentence that never leaves your mouth carries nothing. It does not help the listener. It does not build confidence. It does not train your speaking reflex. It only sits inside your mind and makes you feel frustrated. This is the hard truth. Many learners are not afraid because they make mistakes. They make mistakes worse because they are afraid. Fear makes your brain slower. Fear makes your memory weaker. Fear makes your mouth tighter. Fear makes simple words disappear. You may know the answer when you are alone, but when pressure arrives, your brain becomes blank. That is not because you forgot English. It is because your nervous system is treating English like danger. Your grammar mind thinks it is protecting you, but it is actually making you weaker. Every time you stop yourself from speaking because the sentence is not perfect, you teach your brain that English must be perfect before it is allowed outside. That belief is poisonous. It creates hesitation, it creates silence, it creates dependence on translation. It makes you feel like English is an exam instead of a language. Real speakers make mistakes too. Native speakers make mistakes. Fluent non-native speakers make mistakes. Professionals make mistakes. Teachers make mistakes. The difference is that they do not stop their entire communication because of one mistake. They continue, they repair, they explain again. They keep the message moving. That is what you must learn. You must learn to keep the message moving. If you say, yesterday I go to market, yes, the grammar is not perfect, but the meaning is clear, you can correct it later. Yesterday I went to the market. Good. Learn it, improve it, but do not use that mistake as proof that you should stop speaking. Use it as information. Mistakes are not identity. A mistake does not mean I am bad at English. A mistake means this sentence needs training. That is all. Do not make every mistake emotional. This is where learners destroy themselves. They say one wrong verb and suddenly feel stupid. They use the wrong preposition and suddenly feel embarrassed. They forget one word and suddenly think they will never become fluent. That reaction is too dramatic. It is not logical. A mistake is data. Treat it like data. When you speak, your goal is not to be flawless. Your goal is to send the message. If the listener understands you, you succeeded at communication. Then later you can improve the form. But if you stay silent because you are chasing perfect form, you failed at communication before the conversation even started. This is why you need a new rule. Finish the sentence first. Correct it later. This one rule can change your speaking life. When you begin a sentence, finish it. Even if it is simple, even if it is not elegant, even if you know there is a mistake, train your brain to complete thoughts in English. Completion builds confidence. Completion builds rhythm. Completion teaches your nervous system, I can speak and survive. Stopping all the time teaches the opposite. It teaches your brain, English is dangerous, English is embarrassing, English must be perfect. And once your brain believes that, every conversation becomes heavy. So from today, do not aim for perfect sentences in the first attempt. Aim for complete sentences. Instead of saying half a sentence and stopping, say the full idea in simple English. Do not say, yesterday no, I mean, actually, sorry, and then disappear. Say, yesterday, I went outside and met my friend. We talked for a long time. Maybe it is not advanced. Fine. It is clear. It is complete. It moves. That is speaking momentum. The more you finish sentences, the more your brain learns structure through use. Many learners think grammar only improves through studying rules, but grammar also improves through repeated correct and corrected usage. When you say sentences out loud again and again, your brain starts noticing patterns. Your mouth starts remembering structures. Your ears start hearing what sounds natural. But this only happens if you produce language. Silent grammar study cannot fully replace speaking practice. If you want grammar to become automatic, you must use grammar in motion. You must speak, notice mistakes, correct them later, and speak again. That cycle is powerful. Speak, notice, correct, repeat. Not think, fear, stop, avoid. There is a big difference. The wrong cycle is think, translate, worry, stop, feel bad, avoid speaking. The right cycle is speak, finish, notice, improve, repeat. This is how fluency grows. You also need to stop apologizing for every small mistake. Some learners say sorry after every sentence. They speak one line and immediately say, sorry, my English is bad. Stop doing that. It weakens your presence. It tells your brain that your English is something shameful. It also makes the listener focus on your mistakes more than your message. You do not need to announce your insecurity. Just speak. If you make a mistake and the meaning is still clear, continue. If the listener looks confused, explain it again in simpler words. That is not failure, that is communication skill. Even native speakers explain things again when people do not understand. Repeating and rephrasing is normal. You need phrases that protect your flow when your grammar mind attacks. Say, let me say that another way. Say, what I mean is, say, I'm trying to explain that. Say, the simple version is, say, I don't know the perfect word, but these phrases are powerful because they keep you speaking. They stop one mistake from becoming a full stop. They give your brain permission to continue. And continuation is the secret. Most learners do not need perfect English first. They need continuation first. Because when you continue, you get practice. When you get practice, you improve. When you improve, you gain confidence. When you gain confidence, your grammar mind becomes quieter. But if you stop every time you feel unsure, you never collect enough speaking experience to become better. You must also understand that your grammar mind is loud because it has been trained for years. In school, many learners were taught that mistakes are shameful. They were corrected in front of others. They were judged by marks. They learned English as a subject where every wrong answer reduces your score. So now, even in normal conversation, their brain behaves like a teacher is holding a red pen. But real life is not an exam. Conversation is not a grammar test. People are not always grading you. Most people simply want to understand what you mean. So you must retrain your mind. When the grammar mind says, wait, is this correct? Answer it with, I will correct later. Right now, I will speak. When the grammar mind says, you might make a mistake, answer, mistakes are part of training. When the grammar mind says, you sound too simple, answer, simple and spoken is better than advanced and silent. This is not motivation, this is strategy. You are teaching your brain a new speaking rule. Meaning first, correction later. Flow first, accuracy later. Communication first, perfection later. Over time, something beautiful happens because you stop interrupting yourself. Your speech becomes smoother. Because you speak more, your grammar improves naturally. Because you finish sentences, your confidence grows. Because confidence grows, fear becomes weaker. And because fear becomes weaker, your brain can access English faster. That is the real path. Not waiting until you are perfect. Not studying forever before speaking. Not hiding behind grammar. But using English now, improving it as you go. So the next time you open your mouth and your grammar mind tries to stop you, do not obey it immediately. Let the sentence come out. Finish the idea. Keep the conversation alive. If there is a mistake, good. You found something to train. Correct it later, repeat it correctly, and move forward. Do not turn every mistake into a prison. Turn every mistake into practice. Because the learner who speaks imperfectly every day will become fluent faster than the learner who silently waits for perfect grammar. Speak before your grammar mind interrupts you. Finish before fear edits you. Communicate before perfection kills your momentum. That is how English becomes automatic. Chapter 5, think in small English, not big English. One of the biggest mistakes English learners make is believing they need to think in advanced English before they can think in English at all. This belief sounds reasonable at first, but it creates enormous pressure. You wake up one morning and tell yourself, from today, I will think in English. A few seconds later, your brain tries to describe a complicated idea, cannot find the right vocabulary, becomes frustrated, and immediately returns to your native language. Then you tell yourself, see? I can't think in English. But that is not because thinking in English is impossible. It is because you tried to run before you learned how to walk. The truth is that fluent English is not built from big English. It is built from thousands of tiny English thoughts repeated every single day. Think about how children learn their first language. They do not begin with difficult opinions. They do not begin by discussing politics, science, philosophy, or business. They begin with very small thoughts. I'm hungry. I'm tired. Where's mom? I want water. I'm happy. Look at this. Come here. Let's go. Those simple thoughts become automatic because they are repeated thousands of times. Years later, those simple thoughts become long conversations. Your English brain needs exactly the same process. Many learners try to skip this stage because they think simple English is embarrassing. They believe speaking simple English makes them sound unintelligent. So they force themselves to use complicated vocabulary. They search for difficult words. They try to create perfect grammar. They spend 30 seconds building one sentence. Then they wonder why conversations feel exhausting. The answer is simple. Your brain is carrying far too much weight. Imagine someone who has never exercised walking into a gym and trying to lift the heaviest weight in the room. What happens? The body struggles. The muscles fail. The person becomes discouraged. Not because lifting weights is impossible, because they started far beyond their current ability. English works exactly the same way. If your brain cannot automatically produce simple English, it will never automatically produce advanced English. Simple English is not a shortcut. Simple English is the foundation. In fact, if you listen carefully to fluent English speakers, especially during everyday conversations, you will notice something surprising. They often use very simple words, not because they have a limited vocabulary, because simple language moves faster. Simple language communicates clearly. Simple language keeps conversations flowing. Think about how often native speakers say things like, I don't know, I think so, maybe, I'm tired. That's interesting. Let's go. I'm ready. Sounds good. No problem. I guess you're right. We'll see. These are not difficult expressions, but they appear thousands of times every day. Fluency is not using the biggest words. Fluency is using the right words without stopping. That is a completely different skill. So instead of trying to think in perfect English, start thinking in everyday English. When you wake up, do not wait until you have a complicated idea. Simply notice your surroundings. I'm awake. It's still early. I'm sleepy. I need some water. Today feels busy. I need breakfast. Where's my phone? I should get dressed. These tiny thoughts may not seem important, but they are training something much more valuable than vocabulary. They are training direct connection. Your brain is beginning to connect real life directly to English instead of using your native language as the middle step. That connection becomes stronger every single day. Now imagine you are making coffee. Most learners stay silent or they think in their own language. Instead, describe every action in English. I'm boiling water. The coffee smells good. I need more sugar. The cup is hot. I'm making breakfast. I'm running late. I should leave soon. Notice something important. None of these sentences require advanced grammar. None of these sentences require difficult vocabulary. But every one of them strengthens your English thinking system. Your goal is not to impress anyone. Your goal is to remove translation. Every direct English thought is one less translation your brain has to perform later during your conversation. Another mistake learners make is believing they need to think in complete paragraphs. You don't. Your brain naturally thinks in fragments most of the time. When you're driving, you don't think, I am now approaching an intersection where I must carefully reduce my speed before making an appropriate decision regarding the traffic light. You think, red light, slow down, turn left, almost home. Human thinking is naturally simple. So let your English thinking become simple too. Another powerful exercise is describing people around you. You're sitting in a cafe. Instead of scrolling through your phone, quietly think in English. He's reading. She's smiling. They're talking. That child is laughing. The waiter looks busy. It's raining outside. This place is quiet. Again, these are tiny thoughts, but they are exactly what trains automatic English. Now let's take this one step further. Begin talking to yourself throughout the day. Not because you're strange, because you're training. Professional athletes talk through movements. Musicians repeat scales. Pilots rehearse procedures. Public speakers practice speeches. Why should language learners be the only people expected to improve without practicing? Talk yourself through ordinary situations. I'm opening my laptop. I need to answer this email. I forgot my charger. I have a meeting later. I'm looking for my keys. I should clean this room. This task is taking longer than I expected. The more ordinary your life becomes in English, the less extraordinary English feels. That is exactly what you want. You want English to stop feeling like a school subject. You want it to become part of your daily life because languages become automatic through use, not through admiration. Many learners admire English. Very few actually live in English. There is another reason small English works so well. It reduces fear. When you tell yourself you must think in advanced English, your brain immediately feels pressure. Pressure creates hesitation. Hesitation creates translation. Translation creates silence. But when your goal is simply to think, I'm cold, I'm hungry, I like this, this tastes good, suddenly your brain relaxes. And a relaxed brain learns much faster than a stressed brain. Scientists who study learning have repeatedly shown that high stress interferes with memory retrieval and performance. That means anxiety actually makes it harder to access words you already know. So every time you simplify your English thinking, you reduce mental pressure. Less pressure means faster recall. Faster recall means smoother speaking. Smoother speaking creates confidence. Confidence creates even faster speaking. This becomes a positive cycle. Small thoughts become small conversations. Small conversations become longer conversations. Longer conversations become fluent conversations. That is how momentum works. Not through one giant breakthrough, but through hundreds of tiny victories repeated every day. Another practical habit is replacing your inner voice. Whenever you catch yourself thinking something in your native language, pause for a moment. Don't criticize yourself. Simply ask, how would I say this in simple English? Not perfect English, simple English. If the sentence is too difficult, make it smaller. Suppose you think, I have so many responsibilities today, and I'm worried I won't finish everything before the deadline. If that feels difficult, reduce it. I'm busy today. I have a lot to do. I hope I finish everything. 3 simple sentences are much better than 1 complicated sentence you never say. Remember this rule. Simple English that comes out naturally is infinitely more valuable than advanced English trapped inside your head. Over time, your brain starts connecting these simple ideas together automatically. I'm busy today. I have a meeting. I need to finish my work. I'm a little tired. I'll rest tonight. Eventually those become, I'm busy today because I have a meeting and I need to finish my work before tonight. Notice what happened? You didn't force complexity. Complexity grew naturally from simplicity. That is exactly how fluency develops. It does not appear overnight. It grows sentence by sentence, thought by thought, day by day. So stop trying to sound like an advanced English speaker from the very beginning. Start sounding like yourself. Use the English you already know. Think small, speak small, repeat often, because one day you will suddenly notice something remarkable. You are no longer translating every little thought. You are simply living your day in English. And when that happens, conversations become easier because your brain has already been thinking in English for hours before anyone even asked you a question. That is the hidden power of small English. It does not look impressive at first, but it quietly rewires your brain every single day until speaking English becomes as natural as thinking itself. Chapter 6, use the question and answer method every day. If you want to speak English automatically, you must train your brain to answer questions quickly. This is where many English learners fail. They study vocabulary, they watch lessons, they listen to podcasts, they read books, they understand a lot. But when someone asks them a simple question, their mind becomes empty. Not because they know nothing, because they have not trained the skill of answering. There is a big difference between knowing English and answering in English. Knowing English means you can recognize words, understand meanings, and follow explanations. Answering in English means you can take a question, understand it quickly, choose your response, form a sentence, and speak it out loud in real time. That is a different skill, and if you never train it directly, it will stay weak. Most real conversations are not speeches. They are questions and answers. Someone asks, "How was your day?" You answer. Someone asks, "What do you think?" You answer. Someone asks, Why did you choose that? You answer. Someone asks, what happened? You answer. Someone asks, can you explain this? You answer. This is the natural rhythm of conversation. If your brain cannot answer simple questions quickly, you will always feel nervous in real conversations because every question will feel like pressure. That pressure creates translation. Translation creates delay. Delay creates panic. Panic creates silence. This is why the question and answer method is so powerful. It trains the exact skill you need in real life, not passive understanding, not silent reading, not grammar recognition, direct response. When you practice answering questions every day, you teach your brain to stop waiting for perfect preparation. You teach it to respond with the English that is available now. You teach it to move forward even when the sentence is not perfect. That is how automatic speaking begins. You do not need difficult questions at first. In fact, starting with difficult questions is a mistake. Start with ordinary questions. What did I do today? How do I feel right now? What am I going to do next? What did I eat today? What is one thing I learned? What problem am I trying to solve? What do I want to improve? What made me happy today? What made me tired today? What is my plan for tomorrow? These questions look simple, but do not underestimate them. Simple questions train fast responses. Fast responses build fluency. Fluency begins when your brain can answer simple things without translation. If someone asks you, what did you do today? You should not need 30 seconds to prepare. You should be able to say, I worked in the morning, then I had lunch, then I practiced English for a while. I was tired, but I still wanted to improve. That answer is not complicated, but it is alive. It communicates. It keeps the conversation moving. Now imagine practicing that kind of answer every day. After 1 week, your brain becomes faster. After 2 weeks, your sentences become smoother. After 3 weeks, your mouth starts remembering common phrases. After 1 month, you realize something important. You are not translating every word anymore. You are responding. That is the goal. The question and answer method works because it creates pressure in a safe way. Real conversations have pressure because another person is waiting, but practicing alone with questions creates a smaller version of that pressure. Your brain must produce an answer, but there is no one judging you. This allows you to train speed without fear becoming too strong. You are teaching your nervous system. A question is not danger. A question is an invitation to respond. That shift matters. Many learners hear a question and feel attacked. They think, what if I don't understand? What if I answer wrong? What if my grammar is bad? What if I sound stupid? But a question is not an attack. It is simply a door. Your job is not to give a perfect answer. Your job is to walk through the door with the English you have. Start with 1-minute answers. Choose one question and answer it out loud for 60 seconds. Not in your head, out loud. This is important because silent practice is too comfortable. When you answer only in your mind, you can cheat. You can pause as long as you want. You can skip pronunciation. You can imagine that the sentence sounds good. But speaking out loud exposes the real skill. Your mouth must move. Your breathing must adjust. Your ears must hear your English. Your brain must produce language in real time. That is training. At first, 60 seconds may feel long. You may answer the question in 10 seconds and then feel empty. Good. That emptiness shows you where your speaking muscle is weak. Do not stop. If you run out of things to say, repeat your idea in simpler words. If you forget a word, describe it. If your sentence breaks, start again. If you make a grammar mistake, continue. The goal is not perfection. The goal is continuation. For example, if the question is, what did I do today? You might say, today I woke up late. I was tired because I slept late last night. Then I had breakfast. After that, I checked my phone and answered some messages. I wanted to practice English, so I listened to a video. I did not understand everything, but I understood the main idea. Later, I went outside for a short time. The weather was nice. Now I am practicing speaking because I want to become more fluent. This is simple English, but it is powerful because it builds flow. You are not translating every word. You are moving from one idea to the next. That is exactly what real conversation requires. Another strong exercise is to answer the same question 3 times. The first answer should be very simple. The second answer should be a little longer. The third answer should be more natural. For example, question, why do I want to improve my English? First answer, I want to improve my English because I need it for my life. Second answer, I want to improve my English because it can help me speak with more people, understand more content, and feel more confident. Third answer, I want to improve my English because I don't want to feel stuck anymore. I can understand many things, but when I try to speak, I still freeze. So I want to train my brain to respond faster and stop translating every sentence in my head. This method is powerful because your brain learns expansion. Many learners give one short answer and stop, but real conversations often need more detail. When you practice answering the same question in longer ways, you teach your brain how to develop ideas. You also learn how to move from basic English to better English naturally, not by forcing difficult vocabulary, by adding details. This is a huge lesson. Better speaking does not always mean harder words. Sometimes better speaking simply means more complete answers. Instead of saying, "My day was good," you say, "My day was good because I finished my work early and had some time to relax." Instead of saying, "I like English," you say, "I like English because it helps me connect with more people and understand more of the world." Instead of saying, "I feel nervous," you say, "I feel nervous when I speak English because I worry about making mistakes, but I know I need to practice more." That is how fluency grows. Small answer, add reason, add example, add feeling, add result. This structure can save you in almost any conversation. When someone asks your opinion, say what you think, give a reason, give an example, and finish with a simple conclusion. For example, I think practicing every day is important because English needs repetition. For example, if I speak for 10 minutes every morning, my brain becomes faster. So I think small daily practice is better than studying once a week. That is a clear answer. Not perfect, but clear. And clear English is more useful than complicated English. The question and answer method also trains listening from the inside. When you ask yourself questions, you become familiar with common question patterns. What did you, why do you, how do you, when did you, where did you, what would you do if, what do you think about? These patterns appear constantly in real conversations. If your brain has practiced them, you will understand faster when someone asks you something similar. You will not panic as much because the structure feels familiar. This is how practice becomes confidence. Confidence is not magic. Confidence is familiarity. You feel confident with what you have repeated many times. You feel nervous with what feels new. So make English questions feel familiar. Ask them daily. Answer them daily. Repeat them until your brain stops treating them like a surprise. Another important part of this method is speed. Do not give yourself too much time to prepare. If you always prepare for 5 minutes before answering, you are training preparation, not conversation. Real conversation does not give you 5 minutes, so create a simple rule. Ask the question, pause for 2 seconds, then answer. Even if your answer begins badly, continue. This trains your brain to start. Starting is often the hardest part. Once you start speaking, your brain usually finds more words. But if you wait for the perfect first sentence, you may never begin. So begin with simple sentence starters. I think, I feel, in my opinion, the reason is, for me, to be honest, I'm not sure, but let me explain. These starters help your mouth move before fear blocks you. Once your mouth starts moving, momentum begins. That is why this channel is called the Speaking Momentum, because fluency is not built by waiting. It is built by movement. The more you move, the easier it becomes to continue. You can also use this method with recordings. Record yourself answering one question every day. Do not delete it immediately. Do not listen like an enemy. Listen like a coach. Ask yourself 3 things. Was my meaning clear? Where did I stop? Which sentence can I improve? That is enough. Do not attack yourself over every mistake. That is useless. If you criticize everything, you will stop practicing. Instead, choose one improvement and practice again. For example, maybe you said, "Yesterday, I go to work." Good. Now correct it. "Yesterday, I went to work." Repeat the corrected sentence 5 times. Then move on. That is how correction should work. Short, clear, useful, not emotional. Never turn correction into self-punishment. The goal is improvement, not shame. You can also build question categories for different parts of your life. For daily life, ask, What did I do today? What am I doing right now? What do I need to finish? For feelings, ask, how do I feel today? Why do I feel this way? What can I do to feel better? For opinions, ask, what do I think about this? Do I agree or disagree? Why is this important? For storytelling, ask, what happened yesterday? What was the problem? How did it end? For future plans, ask, what will I do tomorrow? What is my next goal? How will I improve this week? These categories prepare you for real conversations because people talk about daily life, feelings, opinions, stories, and plans all the time. You do not need random practice. You need useful practice. Practice the questions that real people actually ask. And remember, your answer does not need to be long every time. Sometimes one sentence is enough. Sometimes 3 sentences are better. Sometimes 1 minute is necessary. The skill is flexibility. You want to answer shortly when needed and explain more when needed. That flexibility comes from repetition. There is another benefit of the question and answer method. It reveals your weak areas quickly. If you cannot answer, what did I do today? You need more daily life vocabulary. If you cannot answer, how do I feel? You need more emotional vocabulary. If you cannot answer, what do I think about this? You need more opinion phrases. If you cannot answer what happened, you need more storytelling practice. This is useful because it shows you exactly what to train. Most learners study random English and then wonder why they do not improve. Do not study randomly. Let your speaking problems guide your study. If you cannot explain your job, learn job sentences. If you cannot talk about your day, learn daily routine sentences. If you cannot express opinions, learn opinion patterns. If you cannot tell stories, practice past tense stories. This is intelligent learning. You are not collecting English for no reason. You are building the English you actually need. Do this every day for 30 days and you will notice a difference. Not because 30 days is magic, because daily answering creates repeated access. Your brain starts building the route from question to response. You hear a question, and instead of running to translation, your brain starts searching English directly. At first, it is slow. Then it becomes faster. Then it becomes natural. That is automaticity. And automaticity is the real goal. So here is the truth. If you want to stop translating in your head, stop only studying English and start answering in English. Every day, out loud, with simple questions, with imperfect sentences, with real effort. Because your brain does not become fluent by watching other people speak. Your brain becomes fluent when you make it respond. Question, answer, repeat. That is one of the fastest ways to turn English from knowledge into speech. Chapter 7, Shadow English until your mouth stops feeling slow. There is a problem that many English learners never realize they have. They think their brain is the problem. They believe they cannot speak because they do not know enough English. But often that is not the real issue. The real issue is that the brain knows what it wants to say, but the mouth has never been trained to say it smoothly. Have you ever had this experience? You hear an English sentence and understand every word. You read the same sentence and it makes perfect sense. You even think, I know this. But when you try to say it out loud, everything changes. Your speech becomes slow. Your pronunciation feels awkward. Your mouth struggles to connect the words. You stop halfway through the sentence. You repeat words. You lose your rhythm. Suddenly, a sentence you understood perfectly becomes difficult to speak. This happens because understanding English and producing English are 2 completely different skills. Listening is recognition. Speaking is production. Reading is recognition. Speaking is production. Watching videos is recognition. Speaking is production. Your brain may already recognize hundreds or even thousands of English words, but recognition alone does not train your mouth. Your mouth has muscles. Your tongue has habits. Your lips have movement patterns. Your breathing has rhythm. Your voice needs coordination. Just like learning a musical instrument, speaking English is partly physical. You cannot become a great piano player by only watching piano videos. You cannot become a confident swimmer by reading books about swimming. You cannot become a fluent speaker by only understanding English. Eventually, your mouth must practice producing the sounds. This is why shadowing is one of the most effective speaking exercises you can do. Shadowing is simple. You listen to a native speaker or fluent speaker. Then you repeat what you hear almost immediately. Not 5 minutes later. Not after translating. Not after writing notes. Immediately. You tried to copy not only the words, but also the rhythm, the speed, the pauses, the stress, and the natural flow. Think of it this way. You are borrowing another person's speaking rhythm until your own rhythm becomes stronger. Many learners make the mistake of focusing only on individual words. They pronounce every word separately. I want to go. But real English does not usually sound like that. Words connect together. Sounds become smoother. Some sounds become softer. Some words become shorter. The language flows. Native speakers rarely sound like they are reading from a dictionary. They sound like they are moving through ideas. That movement is what shadowing teaches. At first, shadowing may feel impossible. The speaker sounds too fast. The pronunciation feels unfamiliar. You miss words. You fall behind. Good. That is normal. Do not expect perfection during the first week. Your goal is not to copy everything perfectly. Your goal is to train your mouth to move more naturally. Start with short sentences. Very short. I don't know. That makes sense. I've never tried that. I'll think about it. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not sure. Let's give it a try. Repeat each sentence several times. Listen. Repeat. Listen again. Repeat again. Do not worry if your pronunciation is not identical. Focus on movement. Focus on rhythm. Focus on confidence. One mistake learners often make is choosing material that is far too difficult. They try to shadow movies where people speak extremely quickly, or they choose advanced podcasts full of vocabulary they do not understand. That creates frustration. Instead, choose English that is only slightly above your current level. You should understand almost everything. If you understand only 50%, the material is too difficult. Remember, shadowing is speaking practice. It is not vocabulary study. If you spend all your energy trying to understand the words, your mouth never gets enough practice. Choose interviews, simple conversations, clear podcasts, everyday dialogues, educational videos spoken at a natural but understandable speed. The goal is repetition. One sentence repeated 20 times is more valuable than 20 sentences repeated once. This is another mistake learners make. They always want something new. New videos, new vocabulary, new lessons, new grammar. But fluency grows through repetition. Professional athletes repeat the same movement thousands of times. Professional musicians repeat the same notes thousands of times. Professional actors rehearse the same scene again and again. Why? Because repetition creates automatic performance. English works exactly the same way. Suppose you choose one sentence. I've been working on my English every day. Do not say it once. Say it again and again and again. Change your voice slightly, speed it up, slow it down. Say it confidently. Say it naturally. Repeat until your mouth no longer struggles. Then move to the next sentence. Every repetition is strengthening the connection between your brain and your speech. Over time, you will notice something interesting. Your mouth begins producing sounds with less effort. The sentence no longer feels unfamiliar. It begins to feel normal. That is exactly what you want. You want English to feel physically familiar. Another important part of shadowing is emotion. Many learners read English with no feeling. Their voice is flat. Every sentence sounds the same. But real communication carries emotion. If someone says, "That's amazing," they do not sound the same as someone saying, "I'm really tired today." Emotion changes rhythm. Emotion changes stress. Emotion changes energy. When you shadow, copy the feeling too. If the speaker sounds excited, sound excited. If the speaker sounds calm, sound calm. If the speaker sounds curious, sound curious. This trains natural communication, not robotic speech. Many learners are afraid to exaggerate. They feel embarrassed practicing alone. Do not be. You are training. No athlete worries about looking strange during practice. Practice is supposed to look different from performance. Another powerful way to shadow is using short daily conversations. Imagine someone asks, "How was your weekend?" Listen to a natural answer, then repeat it several times. "I had a great weekend. I spent some time with my family, relaxed at home, and watched a movie." Repeat. Again, again, again. Soon your brain no longer sees this as one long sentence. It begins recognizing smaller patterns. I had a great, I spent some time, I relaxed at, I watched. Those patterns become available in future conversations. Without realizing it, you have learned several useful sentence structures. This is one reason shadowing works better than memorizing isolated vocabulary. You are learning language the way it actually appears, inside complete thoughts, inside real conversations, inside natural rhythm. There is another benefit that many people overlook. Shadowing improves listening at the same time. As you copy pronunciation, your ears become more sensitive to connected speech. You begin noticing sounds that you ignored before. You hear reductions. You hear linking. You hear stress patterns. Gradually, native speakers become easier to understand because your ears have been trained by your own voice. Your speaking improves. Your listening improves. Your confidence improves, all through one exercise. Another important point is consistency. Do not shadow for 2 hours one day and then stop for a week. Your mouth needs daily training. 10 or 15 focused minutes every day will produce much better results than one long session every weekend. Consistency always beats intensity. Think about brushing your teeth. You would never brush for 3 hours once a month and expect healthy teeth. You brush every day because small daily habits create long-term results. Speaking English is no different. Train daily, even if it is only 10 minutes. Especially if it is only 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes teach your mouth that English is part of everyday life. Another excellent exercise is recording yourself after shadowing. First, listen to the original sentence, then repeat it several times. Finally, record yourself saying it without listening. Now compare your version with the original. Do not compare to criticize yourself. Compare to notice. Did your rhythm improve? Did your pronunciation become clearer? Did your pauses become more natural? Did you sound more confident than last week? Progress is not measured by perfection. Progress is measured by improvement. Never compare yourself to someone who has spoken English for 20 years. Compare yourself to the person you were 1 month ago. That comparison is useful. The other comparison only creates discouragement. Many learners also ask, should I understand every word before shadowing? The answer is no. You should understand the overall meaning, but you do not need to analyze every grammar point before you begin. Remember, the purpose of shadowing is movement. It is speaking practice, not grammar study. Do not interrupt the exercise every few seconds to check a dictionary. Keep moving. You can always study unfamiliar words afterward. During shadowing, your job is flow. One more thing, do not only shadow educational English. Shadow everyday English. People rarely spend their day discussing grammar rules. They greet people. They ask questions. They tell stories. They make jokes. They apologize. They thank people. They explain problems. They make plans. Choose material that reflects real life. If your goal is conversation, practice conversational English. If your goal is business meetings, shadow business conversations. If your goal is travel, shadow travel dialogues. Practice the English you actually want to use, not random sentences that you will never say again. Eventually, something remarkable begins to happen. You hear a sentence, instead of translating it, your mouth already knows how it feels. Your tongue moves more naturally. Your breathing becomes calmer. Your pronunciation becomes smoother. Your confidence grows because your body is no longer fighting the language. Speaking starts feeling less like work and more like communication. That is the hidden power of shadowing. It does not simply teach you English. It teaches your mouth how English feels. It teaches your ears what natural English sounds like. It teaches your brain that speaking does not need to be slow. Most importantly, it replaces hesitation with movement. Remember, your goal is not to sound exactly like someone else. Your accent does not have to disappear. Your personality should not disappear. You are not trying to become another person. You are simply training your mouth to work together with your brain. Because fluency is not only about knowing the right words, fluency is also about allowing those words to leave your mouth without fear, without struggle, and without unnecessary delay. So every day, spend a few minutes shadowing real English. Repeat useful sentences. Copy the rhythm, copy the flow. Trust the repetition, because every sentence you shadow is another step towards speaking English automatically. And one day, without even realizing it, your mouth will stop feeling slow. It will simply begin to speak. Chapter 8, stop waiting for confidence before you speak. One of the most dangerous lies English learners believe is this: when I feel confident, then I will start speaking. It sounds reasonable, it sounds safe, it sounds logical. You think, first I need more vocabulary, first I need better grammar, first I need better pronunciation, first I need to understand native speakers more clearly, first I need to stop making mistakes. Then, when I finally feel confident, I will speak English with people. But this is exactly why so many learners stay stuck for years. They are waiting for confidence before speaking, but confidence does not come before speaking. Confidence comes after speaking. This is the part many learners do not want to accept. Confidence is not something you magically receive one day because you studied enough. Confidence is built through evidence. Your brain needs proof. It needs to experience you speaking English and surviving it. It needs to see that you can make a mistake and still continue. It needs to see that you can forget a word and still explain yourself. It needs to see that your accent does not destroy the conversation. It needs to see that people can understand you even when your English is not perfect. Until your brain gets that evidence, it will keep warning you. It will say, don't speak yet, you are not ready, you might make a mistake, they might laugh, they might judge you, you might forget everything. And because you believe that voice, you stay silent. Then the silence feels safe for a moment, but it creates a bigger problem. Every time you avoid speaking, your brain learns that speaking English is dangerous. Avoidance becomes proof of danger. Silence becomes a habit. Fear becomes stronger. This is why waiting for confidence is a trap. You are waiting for a feeling that only comes after action. Think about learning to drive a car. Nobody becomes a confident driver by only reading driving rules. You can study road signs, watch driving videos, understand the theory, and pass a written test. But the first time you sit behind the wheel, your hands may still feel tense. Your breathing may change. You may feel nervous when another car comes near you. Why? Because real driving is different from studying driving. Confidence comes after driving again and again. At first you feel nervous, then you practice, then your brain collects proof. I can turn safely. I can stop correctly. I can park. I can handle traffic. That proof becomes confidence. English speaking works the same way. You cannot become a confident speaker by only watching other people speak. You cannot become confident by only reading grammar rules. You cannot become confident by only listening to podcasts. Those things help, but they are not enough. At some point, your mouth must open. At some point, your voice must come out. At some point, your brain must experience real speaking. The problem is that many learners want to feel comfortable before they practice. That is backwards. Practice is what creates comfort. If you avoid speaking because it feels uncomfortable, you will never train the discomfort. You will only protect it. And whatever you protect will stay alive. Fear does not disappear because you hide from it. Fear gets weaker when you face it in small, repeated ways. This does not mean you need to jump into difficult conversations immediately. You do not need to embarrass yourself. You do not need to speak for 1 hour with native speakers tomorrow. That is unnecessary pressure. But you do need to stop using "I am not confident" as an excuse for doing nothing. Confidence is not required to begin. Consistency is required to begin. Start small, but start. Speak one sentence out loud. Answer one question. Record a 1-minute voice note. Describe your morning. Repeat 5 useful phrases. Talk to yourself while walking. Read a paragraph aloud. Send a short voice message to someone safe. Join a simple English conversation and say only 2 or 3 sentences if that is all you can manage. That is still progress. That is still evidence. Every small speaking action tells your brain, I can speak English and nothing terrible happens. This is how confidence grows. Not through motivational thinking, through repeated proof. Many learners misunderstand confidence. They think confidence means having no fear. That is wrong. Confidence means acting even when fear is present. A confident speaker is not someone who never feels nervous. A confident speaker is someone who does not let nervousness control their mouth. They may feel pressure, but they still respond. They may make mistakes, but they still continue. They may not know the perfect word, but they still explain the idea. That is real confidence, not perfection, not arrogance, not sounding like a native speaker. Real confidence is the ability to keep speaking while your English is still developing. This is important because some learners think I cannot speak yet because my English is not good enough. But speaking is exactly how your English becomes good enough. You are trying to reach fluency without using the main tool that creates fluency. That is like trying to build muscle without lifting anything. It will not happen. You need speaking reps. Every sentence is a repetition. Every answer is a repetition. Every conversation is a repetition. Every mistake corrected and repeated is a repetition. These repetitions slowly change your brain. They make English feel less dangerous. They make common phrases easier to access. They make your mouth faster. They make your breathing calmer. They make your memory stronger under pressure. This is why daily speaking is more powerful than occasional studying. Studying gives you knowledge. Speaking turns knowledge into ability. There is another problem with waiting for confidence. Your standard keeps moving. Today you say, I will speak when I learn more grammar. Then you learn more grammar, but now you say, I will speak when my pronunciation is better. Then your pronunciation improves, but now you say, I will speak when I know more advanced words. Then you learn more words, but now you say, I will speak when I can understand native speakers perfectly. It never ends. Perfection is a moving target. If you wait until everything feels ready, you will wait forever. There will always be another word to learn. There will always be another grammar rule to improve. There will always be another accent detail to practice. There will always be someone who speaks better than you. If you use these things as reasons not to speak, you will never start. So you need a different rule. Speak with the English you have now. Improve while speaking. Do not wait to become fluent before speaking. Speak so you can become fluent. This mindset shift is powerful because it removes the impossible requirement of perfection. You are allowed to be a learner. You are allowed to sound like someone who is learning. You are allowed to say simple sentences. You are allowed to ask people to repeat. You are allowed to say, I don't know the exact word, but let me explain. You are allowed to make mistakes and still continue. The problem is not that your English is imperfect. The problem is that you think imperfect English should stay silent. That belief is killing your progress. Imperfect English spoken daily becomes stronger English. Silent English stays weak. You must also stop believing that everyone is judging you as harshly as you judge yourself. Most people are not analyzing every word you say. They are listening for meaning. They want to understand your message. If they understand you, the conversation can continue. That is success. Yes, some people may correct you. Some people may notice your mistakes. Some people may be impatient. That can happen. But you cannot build your entire learning life around the fear of a few judgmental people. If someone laughs at your English while you are trying to improve, that says more about their character than your ability. Do not give weak people control over your progress. Your job is not to impress everyone. Your job is to improve. And improvement requires exposure. The more you expose yourself to speaking, the less powerful fear becomes. At first, even saying one sentence may feel difficult. Then after repetition, one sentence feels normal. Then 2 sentences feel possible. Then 1 minute feels manageable. Then a short conversation feels less scary. Then longer conversations become possible. This is how courage grows. Not all at once. Step by step. Many learners want a huge breakthrough. They want to wake up one day and suddenly speak fluently without fear. That is fantasy. Real fluency is built through small, uncomfortable moments repeated consistently. You speak while nervous today. You speak again tomorrow. You speak again the next day. Slowly, your brain stops treating English like danger. That is the real rewiring. The brain changes when experience repeats. If your repeated experience is silence, your brain becomes better at silence. If your repeated experience is avoidance, your brain becomes better at avoidance. If your repeated experience is speaking, your brain becomes better at speaking. It is that simple and that brutal. So ask yourself honestly, what are you training every day? Are you training your brain to speak English? Or are you training your brain to avoid English? Because you are training something. Even doing nothing is training. It trains hesitation, it trains fear, it trains the habit of staying quiet. That is why you cannot afford to wait for confidence. Waiting feels neutral, but it is not neutral. Waiting is practice for delay. You need to practice action. One powerful way to build speaking confidence is to create small daily challenges, not huge goals, small challenges. Today, describe your day for 1 minute. Tomorrow, answer 5 questions out loud. The next day, record yourself explaining one opinion. The next day, repeat a short conversation until it feels natural. The next day, speak to someone in English for 2 minutes. Small challenges create proof. Proof creates confidence. Another strong method is to separate practice confidence from performance confidence. You may not be ready to speak perfectly in public, but you can practice alone. You can speak in your room, you can record your voice, you can shadow sentences, you can answer questions, you can speak while walking. You can practice before the real moment arrives. Do not say, I have nobody to speak with. That is a weak excuse if you are doing nothing at all. Speaking with people is important, but it is not the only way to train. Your mouth does not know whether another person is in the room. If you speak out loud, your mouth is practicing. Your brain is producing. Your ears are listening. Your confidence system is receiving evidence. Of course, real conversation matters too, but do not use the lack of a partner as permission to stay silent. Speak alone first, then speak with people. Build the base. Another reason learners lack confidence is that they only measure mistakes. They record themselves and immediately search for what is wrong. Wrong pronunciation, wrong tense, wrong word, wrong pause, wrong accent. If you only search for mistakes, your brain will start hating practice. You need a better review system. After you speak, ask 3 questions. Was my message understandable? Did I continue even when I felt stuck? What is one thing I can improve next time? That is enough. Do not attack yourself for 10 minutes after a 1-minute recording. That is not discipline. That is self-sabotage. You need correction, not punishment. Correction improves you. Punishment makes you quit. Confidence grows when you see progress. So notice progress. Maybe today you spoke for 30 seconds without stopping. That matters. Maybe you used one phrase correctly. That matters. Maybe you made a mistake but continued. That matters. Maybe you answered faster than last week. That matters. These are not small things. These are signs that your speaking system is changing. And let me be clear, confidence does not mean you will never feel embarrassed. Sometimes you will. Confidence means embarrassment no longer controls your future. You make a mistake, you learn from it, and you return. You do not disappear for 6 months because one sentence went badly. That is maturity. That is how serious learners behave. A weak learner makes one mistake and quits. A serious learner makes one mistake and says, good, now I know what to practice. This is the attitude you need. You are not trying to protect your ego. You are trying to build a skill. And skills require ugly practice. Your first spoken answers may sound slow. Good. Your first recordings may sound uncomfortable. Good. Your first conversations may feel messy. Good. That is the cost of improvement. Nobody becomes fluent without passing through the messy stage. The learners who look confident today once sounded uncertain too. The difference is they did not stop. So stop waiting for confidence before you speak. Speak to build confidence. Speak with simple words. Speak with mistakes. Speak with pauses. Speak with nervousness. Speak before you feel fully ready. Because ready is not a feeling that comes first. Ready is something you become through action. Every sentence you speak is evidence. Every conversation you survive is evidence. Every mistake you continue through is evidence. Every day you practice is evidence. And eventually your brain will have enough proof to believe, I can do this. That is when confidence becomes real. Not fake confidence, not forced confidence, not pretending, real confidence built from repeated action. So from today, stop saying, I will speak when I am confident. Say, I will become confident because I speak. That one sentence can change your English forever. Chapter 9. Build a daily English automaticity routine. If you want English to come out automatically, you cannot depend on random motivation. You need a routine, not a complicated routine, not a perfect routine, not a routine that looks impressive on paper but disappears after 3 days. You need a simple daily routine that trains your brain, your mouth, your ears, and your confidence to work together in English. This is where many English learners fail. They get excited for one day, they watch 3 lessons, they write notes, they promise themselves, from tomorrow I will study English seriously. Then tomorrow comes, life becomes busy, motivation disappears, and English is pushed away again. A few days later, they feel guilty, so they start again with another big plan, then they stop again. This cycle repeats for months and years. That is not training. That is emotional studying. Real progress does not come from emotional studying. Real progress comes from repeatable practice. Your brain does not care about your excitement. Your brain cares about repetition. It changes when you give it the same signal again and again. If English only appears in your life once or twice a week, your brain will keep treating it like something foreign. But if English appears every day, even for a short time, your brain starts to understand, this is part of my life now. That is how automaticity begins. Automaticity means you no longer need to think deeply before doing something. It becomes natural because you have repeated it so many times. When you brush your teeth, you do not think about every movement. When you unlock your phone, you do not carefully plan every finger movement. When you say basic sentences in your native language, you do not build them from zero. They come out because your brain has repeated them thousands of times. English can become more automatic too, but only if you stop treating it like a rare event. You need daily contact, not necessarily hours. Daily contact, many learners have the wrong idea. They think, if I cannot study for 2 hours, there is no point. That is nonsense. 10 focused minutes every day is more powerful than 2 hours once every 10 days. Why? Because fluency is not built by occasional intensity. Fluency is built by frequent access. Your brain needs to access English again and again until the root becomes strong. Imagine walking through a field. The first time, there is no path. The grass is high. Every step feels difficult. But if you walk the same way every day, a path begins to appear. The grass becomes flat. The route becomes clearer. Walking becomes easier. That is exactly what happens in your brain when you practice English daily. At first, speaking feels hard because the path is weak. Then daily repetition makes the path stronger. Then words come faster. Then common sentences feel familiar. Then your mouth moves with less struggle. Then your brain stops translating every little thing. That is the process. But if you walk that path once and then disappear for 2 weeks, the grass grows back, the root becomes weak again. This is why inconsistent learners feel like they are always starting over. They are not stupid, they are not hopeless, they are just not repeating enough to keep the path alive. So you need a daily English automaticity routine. The first rule is simple: make it so easy that you cannot escape it. Do not create a routine that requires perfect energy, perfect time, perfect silence, and perfect motivation. Your life is not perfect. Your routine must survive normal life. If your routine only works when everything is calm, it is useless. You need something you can do on busy days, tired days, stressful days, and ordinary days. A strong routine should be small enough to repeat and powerful enough to train the right skill. Here is the first part of the routine. When you wake up, speak your first thoughts in English. Do not wait until later. Do not open your phone first. Do not start the day in your native language and then hope English will magically appear in conversation. Begin with very simple English. I'm awake. I feel sleepy. I need to get up. What time is it? I need water. Today will be busy. I have work today. I want to practice English. This may look too simple, but do not underestimate it. The morning is powerful because your brain is fresh and your inner voice starts early. If your first thoughts are always in your native language, your brain stays on the old route. But when you give your brain small English thoughts in the morning, you begin training direct English from the start of the day. You are telling your brain, English is not only for class, English is part of my normal thinking. The second part of the routine is answering one daily question out loud. Choose one simple question every day and answer it for 1 minute. What am I going to do today? How do I feel right now? What did I learn yesterday? What is one thing I need to improve? What problem am I facing? What do I want to finish today? Answer out loud, not silently, not only in your mind, out loud. This matters because automatic speaking is not built by thinking alone. Your mouth must be involved. Your breathing must be involved. Your voice must be involved. When you speak out loud, you train the full system. You are not just learning English, you are producing English. At first, your answer may be weak. That is fine. You may say, today I will work, I will eat breakfast, I will practice English. I feel tired, but I want to improve. Good, that is enough. You are building the habit of response. Over time, your answers will naturally become longer and smoother because your brain will reuse familiar patterns. The third part of the routine is shadowing 5 useful sentences. Do not shadow random advanced sentences that you will never use. Choose practical sentences that fit real conversations. I'm trying to explain my idea. I don't know the exact word, but I can describe it. Can you say that again? I need a little time to think. That makes sense to me. Repeat each sentence several times. Copy the rhythm, copy the flow. Let your mouth feel the sentence. The goal is not to memorize like a robot. The goal is to make useful English physically familiar. This is important because many learners understand sentences but cannot say them smoothly. Shadowing fixes that. It trains your mouth to move with English instead of fighting English. The fourth part of the routine is describing one normal activity in English. Choose something you already do every day. Making tea, getting dressed, opening your laptop, walking outside, cleaning your room, preparing food, checking your messages. Describe it in simple English while you do it. I'm making tea. The water is hot. I need a cup. I'm adding sugar. I'm going to drink this before work. Again, this is not childish. This is direct connection. You are connecting real life to English. That is exactly how you stop translating. Your brain sees an action and attaches English directly to that action. If you do this every day, English becomes less like a lesson and more like a living system. The fifth part of the routine is recording a short voice note. This may be uncomfortable, but it is extremely powerful. Record yourself speaking for 2 minutes. Talk about your day, your thoughts, your plan, or something you learned. Do not delete the recording immediately. Do not insult yourself. Do not listen like an enemy. Listen like a coach. Ask yourself simple questions. Was my meaning clear? Where did I stop? Which sentence can I improve? That is enough. Do not attack every mistake. If you criticize everything, you will destroy your desire to practice. Correction should help you continue, not make you quit. Choose one mistake, correct it, repeat the better version, and move on. For example, if you said, yesterday I go outside, correct it to, yesterday I went outside. Repeat it 5 times, then continue your life. That is useful correction. Crying over the mistake is useless. Feeling ashamed for 10 minutes is useless. Telling yourself your English is terrible is useless. You are not here to punish yourself. You are here to train. This routine does not need to take 1 hour. It can take 15 to 20 minutes. Morning thoughts, 1 minute. Daily question, 2 minutes. Shadowing, 5 minutes. Activity description, 3 minutes. Voice note, 5 minutes. That is enough to create daily contact. If you have more time, good, but do not depend on having more time. Build the base first. A small routine done every day beats a perfect routine done once and abandoned. The biggest danger is making your routine too heavy. Some learners say, I will study grammar for 1 hour, memorize 50 words, watch 3 videos, write an essay, practice pronunciation, read a book, and speak for 30 minutes every day. That sounds impressive, but if you are not already disciplined, it will collapse. Then you will feel guilty and stop completely. Do not build a routine for your fantasy self. Build a routine for your real life. Your real life has tired days, busy days, lazy days, stressful days, distracted days. Your routine must still survive. Even on the worst day, you should be able to say, I can still speak for 5 minutes. That is how consistency is built. And consistency is more important than intensity. Another important rule is to connect English to habits you already have. Do not wait for a perfect study time. Attach English to normal parts of your day. When you brush your teeth, think in English. When you make breakfast, describe it in English. When you walk, answer a question in English. When you shower, repeat useful phrases. When you open your laptop, say your plan in English. When you go to bed, summarize your day in English. This is powerful because you are not trying to create a completely new life. You are adding English to the life you already have. That is how language becomes automatic. You are surrounding your normal routine with small English moments. These moments may look small, but repeated daily, they become massive. One sentence per day looks small, but one sentence every day for a year is 365 spoken sentences. 5 minutes per day looks small, but 5 minutes every day for a year is more than 30 hours of speaking practice. Most learners never get 30 hours of real speaking practice because they keep waiting for perfect conditions. Do not be one of them. Use the day you already have. Another mistake learners make is changing their routine too often. They do one method for 2 days, then switch to another method, then another app, then another teacher, then another course. Their brain never gets enough repetition to build automaticity. Stop chasing novelty. Your routine should feel slightly boring. That is not a problem. That is the point. Repetition feels boring before it feels automatic. If you need entertainment every day, you will never master anything. Skill is built by repeating simple things long after the excitement disappears. You do not need a new method every week. You need one effective method repeated long enough to work. Do the same basic routine for 30 days before judging it. 30 days of morning English thoughts. 30 days of daily questions. 30 days of shadowing useful sentences. 30 days of describing normal activities. 30 days of short voice notes. If you do this honestly, your speaking will change. Not because the routine is magical, but because repetition creates access. Your brain will start retrieving common sentences faster. Your mouth will feel less slow. Your fear will become weaker because speaking English will no longer feel rare. The goal is not to speak perfectly after 30 days. The goal is to stop feeling like English is locked inside your head. You want English to become available. That is a better word, available. When you need a sentence, it appears faster. When someone asks a question, your brain responds sooner. When you make a mistake, you recover quicker. When you forget a word, you explain around it instead of freezing. This is what the routine is training. Availability, response, momentum, automaticity. There's also a mental benefit. A daily routine gives you proof that you are serious. Many learners do not trust themselves because they keep breaking promises. They say they will practice, then they do not. They say they will speak, then they avoid it. After enough broken promises, their confidence drops. Not only confidence in English, but confidence in themselves. A simple routine helps repair that. Every day you practice, you send yourself a message. I do what I say. That matters. Discipline creates self-respect. Self-respect creates consistency. Consistency creates progress. Progress creates confidence. Confidence creates more speaking. This is the cycle you want, not guilt, excitement, quitting, restarting. A better cycle: practice, notice, improve, repeat. You should also separate your routine into 2 levels: minimum and full. Your minimum routine is what you do on bad days. Maybe 5 minutes. Speak 3 morning thoughts. Answer 1 question for 30 seconds. Repeat 3 useful sentences. Done. Your full routine is what you do on normal or good days. 15 to 20 minutes. Morning thoughts. 1 minute answer. Shadowing. Activity description. Voice note. This way you never fully quit. Even on hard days, you keep the chain alive. And keeping the chain alive is powerful because your brain continues receiving the daily signal. English is part of my life. English is something I use. English is something I speak. Not someday. Today. Another powerful part of your routine should be repetition of your personal sentences. These are sentences from your real life that you often need. For example, I'm working on my English every day. I understand more than I can speak. I need to practice speaking faster. I get nervous, but I still want to try. I don't know the perfect word, but I can explain it. I want to speak more naturally. I'm trying to stop translating in my head. Repeat these sentences daily because they are connected to your real situation. Your brain remembers personal language better than random textbook language. When English describes your actual life, it becomes more meaningful and easier to use. This is why your routine must be personal. Do not only copy sentences from books. Use English to talk about your real world, your job, your family, your goals, your fears, your plans, your problems, your opinions, your habits, your daily routine, your English learning journey. The more personal your English becomes, the more naturally it will come out. Because you are not just learning English. You are building your English voice. That is the deeper goal. Not to sound like a textbook, not to sound like a robot, not to sound like someone else. To express your own thoughts in English without translating every word. This is why the routine matters so much. It gives your English voice a place to grow every day. Without a routine, your English depends on luck. Maybe you practice, maybe you do not. Maybe you feel motivated, maybe you forget, maybe you speak, maybe you stay silent. That is not a serious system. If you want serious results, you need a serious routine. Simple, but serious. Daily, but not heavy. Practical, not random. Focused on speaking, not only studying. So from today, stop asking, how can I become fluent quickly? That question usually leads to shortcuts and frustration. Ask a better question. What can I repeat every day until English becomes automatic? That question will change your progress, because automatic English is not created by one powerful lesson. It is created by daily proof. Daily speaking, daily listening, daily repetition, daily correction, daily courage. Every day you put one small brick into the wall. At first it looks like nothing. Then after weeks you see structure. After months you see strength. After enough time you realize English is no longer something you only study. It is something you can access, something you can use, something you can speak. That is what your daily routine is building. Not perfection, momentum. And once you build momentum, English stops feeling like a heavy subject and starts becoming a natural part of your life. Chapter 10. The day English starts coming out without translation. There will come a day when something small happens, and at first, you may not even notice it. Someone will ask you a simple question. Maybe they will ask, how was your day? Maybe they will ask, what do you think? Maybe they will ask, can you explain this? Maybe they will ask, what happened? And before your brain has time to panic, before your native language steps in, before your grammar mind begins checking every rule, before fear starts whispering that you are not ready, an English sentence will come out. It may not be perfect. It may not be advanced. It may not sound exactly the way you wanted, but it will come out directly. And a few seconds later, you will realize something powerful. I did not translate that. That moment is not small. That moment is proof that your brain is changing. That moment means English is no longer only sitting in your memory as information. It is beginning to move through you as a response. It is beginning to become available. It is beginning to become automatic. This is the moment every serious English learner is actually trying to reach. Not the moment when you know every grammar rule. Not the moment when your accent disappears. Not the moment when you sound exactly like a native speaker. The real breakthrough is the moment when English begins coming out before translation can stop it. That is the day you understand what fluency really means. Fluency is not perfection. Fluency is access. It is the ability to reach the English you already know quickly enough to use it in real life. Because many learners know English, but they cannot access English. They can understand videos, read comments, follow lessons, and recognize grammar, but when a real person asks them a question, everything becomes slow. Their English is locked behind translation, fear, grammar checking, and self-judgment. But when English starts coming out without translation, the lock begins to break. You stop feeling like every sentence is a problem to solve. You stop feeling like every conversation is an exam. You stop feeling like English belongs outside you. You begin to feel that English can belong to you. This does not happen suddenly because of one magic lesson. It happens because of all the small training you repeated when nobody was watching. It happens because you practiced simple thoughts in English. It happens because you answered questions out loud. It happens because you repeated useful sentence patterns. It happens because you shadowed real English until your mouth became less slow. It happens because you spoke even when you were nervous. It happens because you stopped waiting for perfect confidence and started creating proof. Every small repetition matters. Every time you said, "I'm tired," instead of translating it, you trained direct connection. Every time you answered, "Today was busy," you trained response. Every time you said, "Let me explain," you trained continuation. Every time you made a mistake and kept speaking, you trained courage. Every time you finished a sentence instead of stopping in the middle, you trained momentum. At the time, these things may have looked too simple. But they were not simple. They were rewiring your brain. You must understand that automatic English does not arrive like lightning. It grows quietly. It grows so quietly that you may think nothing is changing. You practice for a few days and still feel slow. You practice for a few weeks and still make mistakes. You practice for a month and still sometimes translate. Then suddenly, in one normal conversation, your brain responds faster than before. That is how progress works. Progress is not always loud. Sometimes progress is a sentence that comes out 2 seconds faster than it used to. Sometimes progress is not freezing when you forget a word. Sometimes progress is explaining something with simple English instead of staying silent. Sometimes progress is making a mistake but not feeling destroyed by it. Sometimes progress is realizing that you understood a question and answered it without building the whole sentence in your native language first. These are not small victories. These are signs that your speaking system is waking up. Many learners miss their progress because they are obsessed with perfection. They say, but I still make mistakes. Of course you do. You are learning. Mistakes do not mean you are failing. Mistakes mean you are using the language. The only learners who make no speaking mistakes are the learners who do not speak. Do not admire silent perfection. Silent perfection is useless. A learner who speaks imperfectly every day is moving forward. A learner who waits silently for perfect English is staying in the same place while pretending to be careful. That is the harsh truth. If you want English to come out automatically, you must stop treating mistakes like disasters. They are not disasters. They are signals. They show you what needs more repetition. They show you which sentence patterns are weak. They show you which words are not yet available. They show you where your brain still runs back to translation. Use mistakes as training material, not as evidence against yourself. If you say, yesterday I go, correct it later to, yesterday I went. If you say, I am agree, correct it later to, I agree. If you say, I discussed about this, correct it later to, I discussed this. That is all. Correct, repeat, move on. Do not turn one mistake into a full emotional drama. The learners who improve fastest are not the ones who never make mistakes. They are the ones who recover quickly, correct clearly, and keep going. Automatic English requires this mindset because your brain cannot become fast if it is terrified. A terrified brain translates, a terrified brain freezes, a terrified brain overthinks, a terrified brain hides behind silence, but a trained brain responds. A trained brain knows that imperfect speaking is safe. A trained brain understands that communication comes first and correction comes after. This is what you have been building through every chapter. You have been training your brain to stop depending on translation. You have been training your mouth to move before fear takes control. You have been training your inner voice to think in small English. You have been training your confidence through action instead of waiting. You have been training daily automaticity through routine. And when all of these pieces begin to work together, English starts coming out differently. At first, it happens with very simple sentences. I don't know. I think so. I'm not sure. I need more time. That makes sense. I was busy today. I want to improve. These sentences may not look impressive, but if they come out without translation, they are powerful. They are the beginning of automatic fluency. Do not disrespect them. Do not say this is too basic. Basic sentences spoken automatically are the foundation of every fluent conversation. Then the sentences become longer. I don't know the exact word, but I can explain what I mean. I was busy today because I had a lot of work, but I still practiced English for a few minutes. I think this method is useful because it helps my brain respond faster. I used to translate everything, but now I'm trying to think directly in English. Now you are not only speaking, you are connecting ideas. That is the next stage. Then, after more repetition, you begin to express opinions, tell stories, describe problems, and explain feelings with less pressure. You may still pause. You may still search for words. You may still make grammar mistakes. But something is different. You are no longer trapped. You are no longer completely dependent on your native language. You are no longer waiting for perfect English before you speak. You are in motion. And motion is everything. This is why the name The Speaking Momentum matters. Momentum means movement that continues. It means you do not need to restart from zero every time. It means one sentence helps the next sentence. One answer helps the next answer. One small conversation prepares you for the next conversation. Fluency is momentum. When learners have no momentum, every sentence feels like a new mountain. They start, stop, translate, worry, apologize, restart, and then feel exhausted. But when momentum grows, speaking becomes lighter. You begin with one sentence, and the second sentence comes more easily. Then a third sentence appears, then you add an example. Then you explain your reason. Suddenly, you are speaking for 1 minute without stopping. That is not magic. That is trained momentum. And this momentum begins with your next sentence. Not next year, not after another 10 courses, not after you memorize the entire dictionary. Your next sentence matters because it is another vote for the speaker you are becoming. Every time you choose to speak, you vote for fluency. Every time you choose translation first, you vote for hesitation. Every time you choose silence because you fear mistakes, you vote for fear. Every time you choose simple English and continue, you vote for automatic speaking. Your brain is always learning from what you repeat, so be careful what you repeat. If you repeat avoidance, avoidance becomes natural. If you repeat overthinking, overthinking becomes natural. If you repeat translation, translation becomes natural. But if you repeat direct English becomes natural. This is the whole secret. You do not stop translating by hating translation. You stop translating by giving your brain a better habit to use instead. Translation disappears slowly when direct English becomes stronger. Fear becomes quieter when speaking becomes familiar. Grammar panic becomes weaker when you learn to finish sentences and correct them later. The old habit does not vanish in one day. Do not expect that. Some days you will still translate. Some conversations will still feel difficult. Some topics will still make you slow. That does not mean you failed. It means your brain is still learning. Automaticity does not mean you never struggle. It means the struggle becomes less frequent, less intense, and easier to recover from. This is important because many learners quit the moment they have one bad conversation. They practice for a week, then one person speaks too fast, they freeze, and they say, I knew it, my English is not improving. That is childish thinking. One bad conversation does not erase your progress. One difficult moment does not mean your brain is not changing. One mistake does not mean the method is not working. Progress is not destroyed by discomfort. Discomfort is part of the process. You must become mature enough to keep practicing even after bad speaking days. Some days your English will feel smooth. Some days your brain will feel slow. Some days words will come easily. Some days you will forget simple things. This is normal. Even strong speakers have bad speaking days, tired days, distracted days, and nervous days. Do not judge your entire English ability by one moment. Judge it by your direction. Are you speaking more than before? Are you recovering faster than before? Are you translating less than before? Are you finishing more sentences than before? Are you practicing more consistently than before? That is what matters. The day English starts coming out without translation is not the final destination. It is the beginning of a new stage. It means your brain now understands that English can come directly. From that point, your job is to strengthen it. Use it more, repeat it more, expand it more. Make it more natural, make it more accurate, make it more confident. First automatic, then better. This order matters. Many learners try to become better before they become automatic. That is why they freeze. They want advanced grammar, perfect pronunciation, and impressive vocabulary before their brain can even produce simple English quickly. That is backwards. Build automatic simple English first, then upgrade it. Simple automatic English is like a strong road. Once the road is strong, you can drive better vehicles on it. But if the road is broken, even a luxury car cannot move smoothly. So build the road. Build it with daily thoughts. Build it with questions and answers. Build it with shadowing. Build it with ready sentences. Build it with short voice notes. Build it with imperfect conversations. Build it with repetition. Build it with courage. Then one day, English begins to move. Not perfectly, but naturally. And when that happens, protect the momentum. Do not stop practicing because you improved a little. That is another common mistake. Learners finally start seeing progress, then they relax too much and stop the routine. Then the old habits return. Translation becomes stronger again. Speaking becomes slower again. Confidence drops again. Do not let small success make you lazy. When English starts coming out automatically, that is the moment to practice more intelligently, not disappear. Keep the daily routine. Keep answering questions, keep shadowing, keep speaking, keep improving one mistake at a time. Momentum must be maintained. You do not need to study all day, but you do need to stay connected. English should touch your life every day. One thought, one answer, one recording, one short conversation, one useful phrase, one small practice session. These small contacts keep the pathway alive. Remember, your goal is not to become a different person. You are not trying to erase your accent, your culture, your native language, or your identity. You are trying to give your real thoughts another channel. You are trying to become able to say what you mean in English without feeling trapped. You are trying to express yourself with more freedom. That is what fluency gives you. Freedom to answer without panic. Freedom to speak without translating every word. Freedom to make a mistake and continue. Freedom to join conversations instead of avoiding them. Freedom to express your ideas without waiting for perfect grammar. Freedom to use English as a real tool, not just a subject. This freedom is not given to you by a teacher. It is built by your repetitions. No one can practice for you. No one can speak for you. No one can build your automatic English while you stay silent. You must do the work with your own mouth, your own brain, your own routine, your own courage. That may sound hard, but it is actually good news because it means you are not powerless. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for perfect conditions. You can begin now. You can speak one sentence now. You can answer one question now. You can describe one object now. You can repeat one useful phrase now. You can record one voice note now. You can start building the root now. And every time you do, you weaken translation and strengthen direct English. So when that day comes, when someone asks you a question and English comes out before your native language can interfere, do not ignore it. Notice it, respect it, tell yourself, this is proof, my brain is learning. Then keep going. Because one direct sentence can become two. Two can become five. Five can become a full answer. A full answer can become a conversation, and a conversation can become real fluency. This is how English becomes automatic. Not through pressure, not through perfection, not through endless silent studying, through repeated direct use. So from today, stop treating English like something you must translate. Stop treating every sentence like an exam. Stop waiting until you feel perfect. Speak the English you have. Build the English you need. Correct what you must. Repeat what works. And continue every day until your brain finally understands the truth. English is not something I translate first. English is something I can use directly. And once your brain believes that, everything changes. You stop freezing. You stop overthinking. You stop hiding behind silence. You start responding. You start expressing. You start speaking with momentum. And that is the real breakthrough. Not perfect English, automatic English. Because the day English starts coming out without translation is the day you stop being only an English learner and start becoming an English speaker. Before you leave this video, I want you to understand one thing clearly. Your English is not stuck because you are weak. Your English is stuck because your brain has been trained to take the long road. For years, maybe you have been thinking in your native language first, translating every sentence, checking grammar, worrying about mistakes, judging your pronunciation, and waiting until the sentence feels perfect before you allow yourself to speak. And that habit has made English feel heavier than it really is. But now you know the truth. Fluency is not about translating faster. Fluency is about needing translation less. Fluency is not about knowing every word. Fluency is about using the words you already know without freezing. Fluency is not about speaking perfect English from the beginning. Fluency is about speaking simple English again and again until your brain stops being afraid. So from today, stop treating English like a subject you must pass. Start treating English like a voice you must train. Speak your small thoughts in English. Answer simple questions out loud. Use ready sentences. Shadow natural English. Finish your sentences before your grammar mind attacks them. Build a daily routine that your real life can actually handle. And most importantly, stop waiting for confidence before you speak. Confidence is not the starting point. Confidence is the result. Every time you speak even badly, you are giving your brain proof. Proof that English can come out. Proof that mistakes will not destroy you. Proof that simple sentences can still communicate. Proof that your voice is stronger than your fear. Do not disrespect small progress. One sentence without translation is progress. One answer without freezing is progress. One mistake that you continue through is progress. One day of practice when you did not feel motivated is progress. These small moments may not look dramatic, but they are changing your brain. That is how automatic English is built. Not by one perfect lesson, not by one secret method, not by waiting for the perfect moment. It is built through daily repetition, direct speaking, and the courage to use imperfect English until it becomes natural. So the next time your brain says translate first, pause and choose a different path, say this simple sentence. Use the English you have. Keep the conversation alive. Because your goal is not to impress people with complicated words. Your goal is to express yourself clearly and naturally. Your goal is to stop hiding behind silence. Your goal is to become the kind of speaker who can hear a question, understand the meaning, and respond without panic. That speaker is not created by fear. That speaker is created by practice. So start today, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when your grammar is perfect, not when your accent disappears. Today, speak one sentence, then another, and slowly your brain will learn. English is not something I translate. English is something I use. And when that becomes your new habit, everything changes. You stop overthinking, you stop freezing, you stop waiting. You start speaking with momentum. And that is when English finally stops feeling like a wall in front of you and starts becoming a door you can walk through.